Hey, hey, hey. What's up, guys? Node Investor here. Time for a live stream. Maybe the 10K party. Basically, it's the 10K party, right? It's the 10K party. I mean, at this point, we're counting pennies. Who's counting? 9,930, 9,950, 10K. It's all the same thing. Welcome wherever you are. We will take a look at the charts. We will talk Bitcoin, the crypto market space, $300 billion market cap, and anything else we want to cover here today. Thanks for being here today. Looks like we've got people from all over the world. As always, hello from Hungary. Hello from Margaret Island, Colorado in the house. I'm in Arizona in the United States, if you're not aware. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here today. As always, I appreciate you guys joining me for these live streams, being here, keeping me company. Zurich in the house. Man, it's getting late for you guys. Well, it's not even 11 a.m. my time. It's just about to be 11 a.m. my time. So it's probably too early to join most of you guys for a little happy hour drink. So I'm going to be sipping on some, what am I drinking here? Some watermelon flavored by antioxidant infusion drink. It's not bad, actually. It's pretty good. So, howdy from Texas. Texas in the house. Indiana, Guadalajara, Mexico. Canada. Congrats, Canada. Raptors. All right, all right. So let's go take a look at the charts here. I'm going to just talk BTC first. Of course, we will be talking BTC, looking at what's going on here. 10K, psychological number, round number, but it's a milestone. I mean, it feels like yesterday, honestly, when you look at the charts. I mean, look at the weekly charts. I mean, it's June. I get it. There's 6 months into 2019. But it feels like just yesterday when we were just looking down the edge of the cliff, people were calling for 2K, 1,200 BTC. And, man, it was just like now we're looking at 10K, and now you're looking at, online, the news sources saying 10,000, 20,000, Tom Lee, if it hits 10, we're going to 40 right away. And it's like, what a shift in sentiment, right? And surprisingly, honestly, it was really surprising how rapid the rise was. Once we broke over that 4,000 level, man, it was just like off to the races. No stopping BTC at that point. I honestly thought we would kind of meander, below the 6,300 range for a little bit longer. I thought, we'll rally up, we'll pull back, there'll be some good chop. And my plan was just to continue to accumulate at the lows, eventually expecting we would, yes, hit 10K and even higher. But I think the magnitude and the strength of this rally, the relentlessness behind the buyers, really caught a lot of people off guard, to be honest with you. Even the crypto diehards, right? Even the Bitcoin maximalists were caught off guard. And it's a welcome, no doubt. No one's going to complain about that. But I think it's been quite the move that we've had. We are at 9,917. The futures hit 10K earlier. I'm going to just go based off Coinbase here. High of the candle on Coinbase was $9,943. It's going to really depend on the exchange. What's Binance say right now? BTC Tether. Let's go to Binance. Binance says 9,897. So a little bit lower, lagging, not quite as close to 10K as Coinbase. But let's see Bitstamp. What does Bitstamp say? Bitstamp says, it's pretty close to Coinbase, 9,918. So I'll just stick to the Coinbase USD. We'll go from there. At the end of the day, it's crypto. Bitcoin is global. I understand not everybody trades in dollars or the US, and this is just me saying 10K USD. I get that. Totally different, totally unique, but it's all good. So where do we go from here? Just real quick before we get started, I do have another program running on the side here, which tends to hog a little bit of data. I'm still doing some stock trading on the day, a little bit watching some charts on the other side. So I'm hoping it performs okay, doesn't lag, and things continue to come across okay. If I start to get choppy and sound quality dies off, let me know, and we'll see if we can fix it. So looking at BTC here, I'm going to go to the weekly chart again because there was a couple of levels I was watching on the upside once things started to break out. Sorry about that, Facebook. Okay. Once things started to break out here to the upside, and going to the weekly chart, really, that's the best way to do it, is just looking at prior highs as your resistance level here. And, this 9,800 10K level that was set back in May of 2018 was really the level I was watching on the upside as the first target. And we're essentially there. I mean, that's, it's hitting there. It also happens to line up with the round number psychological 10K. Could it overshoot a little bit? Yes, it could. And above that, the next real big number is 11.4. And that would be significant. I mean, that's a huge pop. It is getting a little extended in the short term. If you go to the daily chart, the RSI has room to run, no doubt. I mean, it's only here at 70s. But, you're looking at things are starting to push here a little bit above the 50 EMA for sure. And, a little extended from the 10 to 10, the daily 10 EMA. But, if it just pops really high and hits, 10, mid 10s, at that point, it's going to start to feel a little stretched. And certainly you'll start to see the RSI really start to peak out at that point. On the shorter term time frames, if you go to the 4-hour view, let me fix my charts here. They look ugly. It's nice that it played out this way. I think during the last live stream, we were looking at this potential pattern setting up. We had just started to pull in, and I was mentioning, hey, this would be a good place for it to find some support, make a higher low than the prior bounce, and then get going. And it got going a little bit, and then it started to roll over, and I thought, oh, no, head and shoulder, here we come. And then, boom, perfect, and then just really broke out. And really, that was the breakout point. Looking at, if you weren't in it, or if you were looking to trade it, either buying at the dips here or the breakout point for a quick trade over basically 93, 9400, and then the target was 9800 to 10K, and we're seeing that play out nicely. So very nice to see that this consolidation played out in our favor in terms of the bulls. Nice directional move here, bullish consolidation, ascending triangle base, whatever you want to call it. It just played out beautifully here. And so now the question is, where do we go from here? What happens after 10K? Are all of you guys listening to the live stream going to start selling? Are you buying? What's going on here? What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, personally, I think longer term, even this year, maybe 2019, right, we could certainly see much higher pricing. Is it going to hit all-time highs, 20K? At this point, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it feels like a lot, but when you look at from a percentage basis, right, it's a double from here. We've already come up 300% since the lows in December, 213%. But it's nearly tripled, right? If you look at 3,100, 10K, it's basically tripled. And so it's been a stellar move there from that perspective. Could it double from here? Certainly could, but man, I think there's going to be some pauses along the way. There has to be, right? There has to be a breather somewhere. But man, every dip so far has been really bought up. The last little scare, I guess you could say, was when it tried to pop over that 9K and quickly sold off. That was a good double-digit down move. That was down 18%. But it found some really good support here at the 7,500 level. And once it broke back over that 8,200, that was really it. And off to the races it went again. So the bulls remain in charge, in control on the Bitcoin side of things. And crypto, let me go to the crypto coin market cap here, hitting $300 billion, 303 as it stands right now. The BTC dominance back to 58%, continues to climb. The alts, man, alts are just getting smacked. Let's go look at some of these alts. And it was funny because now you guys know I generally bet on strength. There's some good alts that I like right now. We'll look at some of these here in detail. Litecoin's sitting out for a potential breakout. ETH finally caught a little bit of a bid and is starting to edge out a little bit. But for the most part, man, the alt picture has just been horrid. I mean, look at some of these names, right? Walton, since April, down 70+%. You look at names like Icon, right? Just getting trashed. I mean, Icon's down since the high in March here, 65% versus BTC. Some of the bigger cap names, not quite as much, but still, I mean, even names like EOS, right? Just getting smacked pretty good here. And that's just really been the story. I mean, after the breakout in April, alt pretty much topped for the most part. Yes, the IEOs, and there's always names running, but for the most part, the alt rallies have been very short-lived, and it's just been a BTC story since then. The media is now picking it up. Litecoin going into the halving was one of the bigger names. How much of that has already been priced in is a good question. But, it makes you wonder, like, are we ever going to see some of these names come back? Or with, Binance closing the doors to U.S. investors, with more exchanges going down that path, with the SEC starting to crack down and continuing to regulate, with ICOs pretty much dead, like, it makes you wonder, are we going to start to see volumes dry up for some of those names that just really don't trade? And start to be delisted, right? I mean, you look at names like QSP, for example, trades very little volume nowadays on Binance. And it makes you wonder, like, eventually, right, how much of these are going to just kind of fizzle out and go away and even be delisted? So there's just a lot of these. You look at names from yesteryear, right? And I'm going old school here, way old school, right? But you look like names like Golem and Siacoin. These are the old school names that are just, they're just dying off, it feels like. So it just, makes you wonder which of the few will remain. And we knew long ago, right? If you go to the coin market cap, it tells you there are 2,273 cryptocurrencies listed on here. But let's be honest, right? I mean, once you get past like number 50 or even more, even, maybe a little bit more than that, once you get past that number, it's just like far and few gyms after that. For the most part, you're on second or third page here, right? Number 200 or number 300 coin. And you're deep into crap coin territory at that point. It's like most of these are just not going to be anything significant, right? These are just like, you look at them like apps or like a startup company, and there's a lot of good ideas in there, no doubt, but not all of them are going to win, and not all of them are going to turn into anything. And that's just the reality of the ecosystem, the way it plays out. And that's just business, right? I mean, you figure the countless startups that have come up with brilliant ideas and even had great technology and great founders that just, never went anywhere for one reason or another, right? Market product fit, execution, bad timing, like, there's a lot of reasons why. But yeah, it just makes you wonder which ones are going to really survive the test of time. Bitcoin, $9,920 here. We'll see if it can hit 10K during the course of this live stream. So if you're not in Bitcoin, what do you do, right? Do you just like wait it out? That's been the conundrum for most of the last 2 months, right? Once the breakout happened in April and people saw it rallying into May, after like 6K, it was kind of one of those, I'll wait for a pullback. And those pullbacks just haven't come, right? Not the pullback, the big pullback hasn't really been the pullback that people were hoping for, right? That those with a little bit of cash on the sidelines were hoping to add on a pullback. And it just feels like anywhere along the way you would have been chasing, but it would have been profitable to date, right? If you would have bought at the highs at 5K, 5,300, it would have been good. If you would have bought at 6K on the pullback here at 7K, it would have been good. But every time along the way, it just felt like, man, I'm chasing this. Maybe I should just wait for a pullback, right? And that big one really hasn't come. The biggest pullback we've seen, right? There was the Bitfinex scare. There was a little bit of news here on Binance, but they've been small kind of little shakeouts, very short-lived. The dips continue to be bought back up. And it's just goes to show you the bulls are in charge. The bull market is back. It's not a bear market bounce like many people are still saying. I mean, come on, guys. It's tripled since the bottom. At what point will there not be a bear market bounce? When it hits 20,000, right? It's like, okay, it's not a bear market anymore. So it's just an interesting rally that we're seeing here. So we'll see where it goes. On the negative, okay, so it's all bullish. It's 10K. It's never going to come down ever again. So on the negative, I'm being sarcastic there, guys. Come on, let's have a little fun here. It's Friday, maybe your Saturday, and we are calling it a week. I am seeing some potential negative divergence here, bearish divergence on this daily chart here. Could it go higher? It could. Prices, this RSI has room to run before it hits those levels again. But, you look at the big picture and you think, okay, how high can it go? 10K, 11K. It makes you wonder if like this run is going to be a little bit of the last holdouts finally FOMOing in, saying, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to jump in. Volume hasn't been quite as strong, but it's still pretty high. I mean, you got to admit the volume's still pretty high. It is, you get these little wanes a little bit. It pulls back, but, the last couple of days here, the last week, there's been one red day, and the red day, even though it's above average volume, it might be hard to see on my chart there, it's smaller than some of the prior two green days. So, you got to give the bulls benefit of the doubt. There's a little bit of divergence here. Just one thing to make note of, when it finally does turn, that'll be confirmed, but it's not always a sell signal in and of itself. It's just something to make note of in the big picture. The trend is your friend until it breaks these moving averages. That's what I go with here in the long-term point of view. The 10 EMA has not crossed below the 22 EMA basically since February. So been quite the move. Price, briefly closed below the 22 EMA down here. Again, it was the little scare last week, and it was kind of going into the weekend. And then, of course, prices blew out up over $1,000 on the weekend. So for those of you that say the weekend prices don't matter, they absolutely matter. I mean, it went up $1,000 last weekend. Got to factor that in. That matters. So that's BTC. We'll see if we can hit 10K during the course of this stream here. Let's look at some of the other ones here, because if I was waiting for the pullback in BTC and holding some dollars or tethers and thinking, when's this going to break out? Some of the alts are nice alternatives from a trading perspective, risk reward potentials. If you look at something like ETH, finally popping over some resistance, if it closed here on this daily chart, that'd be a good breakout. That's basically over 278 on a closing basis would be positive here. A little constructive base that it's been pretty much putting in since May, so you're going on the course of a month now. And on the upside, first targets here, you got to go way back here, but run that 320 mark, and then I'm looking for upper 300s after that if it gets really going. So 320 to maybe 400-ish is or excuse me, 350 to 400 is the next kind of bigger window there. On the BTC pair, trying to bounce here a little bit yesterday, ETH BTC. Let's go to Binance here real quick. Finally showing a little life, little green candle. I started scaling out of BTC into some ETH there yesterday. Let's go to the 4-hour view here. Still holding up okay. It was a little preemptive, right? Like I saw that first green candle. I like the volume. I jumped in here on the next green candle. Still moving up highly, but it's a little bit preemptive, right? You're certainly in a downtrend. The moving averages are all still bearishly inverted. You haven't seen confirmation yet. And the big challenge on the ETH BTC pair is going to be getting back over that, 0.30, 302, 303 level, which was the big support level that finally gave way this week. So this could just be a little bit of a bounce. On the USD side, it's breaking out. It looks good. We'll see if we can finally get some follow through here on the BTC pair. And then there's Litecoin. Looking at Litecoin, still coming into the happening. There's some good potential in Litecoin. This wedge is really starting to tighten up, guys. I think it's going to be a decision weekend for Litecoin over the next 2-3 days. It's going to have to resolve itself one way or the other. So on the upside, closing over that 140 mark on the 4-hour view would be very positive. On the downside, a close below 133 really starts to break this pattern, starts to look negative, and it starts to look like this is starting to roll over. Oops. From here, right? So kind of at a little bit of a juncture. We'll see which way it could go. If it does break out, first target I'm looking at on the upside is about 148 for, that's just based on a measured move out of this pattern. If you go back and look at some resistance, there's not a whole lot going back. Let's go to the weekly chart here. I'm jumping all over the place here. But if you go to the weekly chart, just beautiful uptrend, still very much in place. Major resistance on the way up is basically that 170, 175. That's been my target for the halvening. I've mentioned that a few times. We'll see if we can get there. 175 by August. We got a month and a half to go. A little bit over a month. So those are the biggies right now. BNB was looking pretty nice here yesterday for a little bit of a short-term trade. It's working out so far. I posted this in the Slack group. I didn't take this trade just because I didn't like the BTC chart, so I thought I'd rather stay in in Bitcoin. But it gave you a nice little setup here. It popped, pulled back a little bit, and it's still going. So it's just kind of marching higher. It's been an impressive recovery after that news of some of the changes coming in. You saw this big sell-off here, and it just started to really recover. $36 was the key level. Finally broke above that 2 days ago, and showing some good follow-through. So good action on the BNB side of things. A lot of that is because of Bitcoin. If you look at BNB BTC, not quite as pretty, right? And this is why I didn't really like it. I thought I'll just stay with Bitcoin rather than chase this guy here. But this just felt like a little bit of a bounce, and I posted this to the group yesterday saying, it feels like a little bit of a bounce, hasn't really quite erased that big down move, and it's kind of in no man's land. It could certainly rally right back up to the prior high on the BTC pair, or it could just really start to fail here, roll over, and make a new relative low. So because of that, I'm like, the BNB BTC pair just doesn't look that great, honestly. It's just kind of in no man's land. So I think there's better setups out there, but let's be fair, right? Most alts just don't look that great versus BTC. So something to make note of here. Let me take a little swig here and try to catch up on some of these comments. I've been just rambling, and it's been an interesting couple of weeks, man. You got Binance coming out with news. You've got Libra being announced. You've got the regulation stepping in. Bitcoin hitting 10K. Where do we go from here? Oh, let's see here. A lot of talk on XRP. Oh, good question. That middle line on my chart here, that's the 50 EMA, and I generally don't have that on my chart. I posted it here today just because I was looking at BTC here. Let me go back to BTC dollar. That's this little gray line that I have. It's very faint, hard to see probably, but that's the 50 EMA on the 4-hour view. That generally gives you a good feel for where the 10 EMA is on the daily chart. So you can see down here, 10 EMA is still right around that 9,100 mark, which means, even a normal pullback on the daily chart could come all the way back down to 9,100, 9,200 and still just be nothing, right? Could just be a normal pause pullback down to the 10 EMA. So it's kind of a reference point. It's really all I'm using it for there. So good question on that here. I'm just catching up here and looking at, would you buy BTC at this price? That's always the question, right? People are always asking, would you buy here if I'm not in? And the answer, yes, it's going to be a cop-out. The answer is always, it depends. Like, what's your strategy, right? If you're buying for a long-term hold and you're thinking, you know what, I don't really care about these little short-term fluctuations. I'm seeing this long-term chart. I think Bitcoin's going to be at 20K, in the next 6 months to a year. Then maybe the plan is dollar cost average, right? Buy a little here, buy a little there, buy a little next month, buy a little next week, right? Don't just blow your whole wad in one shot. Try to guess the exact best place to buy if that's your strategy, right? If you're looking for a little bit more, just buy a little every paycheck, like they say. The alternative is, if you're looking for more of a trade, right? A little bit of short term, maybe you're using leverage, maybe it's a little bit more of a swing trade or something. Then maybe you employ some sort of trend following strategy where you wait for these type of setups, right? Where you look for like little bases like this, kind of like we saw this week, and either you wait for the breakout or you scale in, on the second dip along the way, maybe pre-breakout, you add some on the breakout, right? And that's the strategy. But at that point, your strategy is very, very short at that point, right? You're looking for the quick move, get a couple $100 on the way up, maybe sell into 10K, and that's a good trade, right? But that's a trade. And so the question is, should I buy here? It's not so much what's the best price to buy at, but what's the best time to buy relative to your strategy and what you're looking to do, right? I mean, if you were buying the dip back in December and November, that was a great time to buy. But most people would have said you're just catching the falling knife, or you're guessing. But if your time horizon is long enough, if you're a long-term believer, then you pick some up, right? Maybe you don't blow your whole wad again, like I said, dollar cost averaging. And so the question is, should you buy here, right? And that's going to really depend. That just really depends on everybody. If you already have some and your average cost is like way down here, okay, if you really want to buy and keep adding to the stack, then sure, buy a little here and buy a little on the dips, right? It just depends on your timeline. From a trade perspective, personally, I would not buy here from a trading perspective. If I wasn't in already, this just looks a little bit riskier, right? Because what's your upside versus what's your downside potential? From a long-term point of view, if I wanted to just keep adding in here, yeah, I mean, maybe I'd buy a little bit here and wait for that inevitable dip that never comes, buy a little bit there. So just really depends, man. All right, let's see here. When to take profits? Oh, that's an even harder question. Buying is the easy part. When to sell? Oh, that's the harder part, right? And it's funny because if you're trading or investing, it's usually the winners that are a little bit more emotionally frustrating than the losers, right? Because the winners, I mean, very rarely are you ever going to get a winner like 100% right. You just got to accept that, right? You're never going to sell at the exact top. And, you're never going to get out at the right moment. And that's always the hard part, right? People are thinking, oh, they sell, they take some profits, and then it pops, and they're, oh, I should have held on. And then they don't sell, and then they see it roll over. Oh, I should have just sold some at the top. Why didn't I just lock in some gains? And then they sell, and then 2 weeks later it's higher, right? It's like it's impossible to like nail the top every time or nail the bottom. And it's just one of those, like, what's your strategy? Use sell signals, buy signals, look for reversals, high volume reversals. Now, me personally, I'm a sell into strength kind of guy. And by definition, you're always going to leave some on the table when you sell into strength, right? But that's okay. I've accepted that, right? It's like if I'm on a trade and I get that big momentum spike, I might take a little bit off into that spike and see what it does from there. If it starts to pull back and break some levels, then I'll sell the rest. If it goes higher, I might start to add some back in and trade around a core, right? So I'm more of a sell into strength kind of guy. If it hits a target that I'm looking at on the upside, I'll take a little bit off there. And that's, again, from a trading perspective. Now, if you're in a long-term investment perspective, like such my long-term holds, for example, I don't care about 10K BTC at this point. I'm just going to let it run, let it do its thing, because my window of time, my horizon for the long-term hold side of things for me is much longer, right? I'm looking for much higher prices. And at that point, it's a little bit more of like the market action, right? If you start to get another 2017 run, things go parabolic. There's the euphoria. Forbes starts printing articles every week. It's in every newspaper every day. Then, okay, you start looking at, okay, maybe I need to start scaling out here a little bit, locking in some gains. I'm up 1,000%. Why not, right? So that's, and at that point, what will the price be when it does that? Who knows? I have no idea. 20K? 30K, 100K, who knows, right? Maybe it never gets there, right? Maybe we never get another euphoria like that. So it's just really hard to nail, like, where's the exact top. It's going to be more of a sentiment type of thing. If you go back to 2017, right? I remember at the start of 2017, the thought of 10K BTC was like, wow, that was like the dream, right? And then we hit 5K and everyone was going wild, right? We hit 5K and it was going parabolic. And 5K felt like, wow, we're getting really extended here. And then 7K, 10K. And then that 10 to 20K move was a small window of time. But, there's an old saying that says, the 80% of the move comes in the last 20% of the gain, right? And a lot of times that's what happens. And that was just parabolic at that point. We were, if you take off the logarithmic chart, it was clearly a parabolic move, right? And it was just a matter of when at that point. And you can't time it. But you start taking some off at that point, or you start waiting for that break. And that's going to be the same thing on the next go around, hopefully, right? We get another big parabolic move that everybody gets crazy on, and who knows where it goes, right? Maybe it ends at 16K. Maybe it just pops, goes parabolic here, short run. We never break all-time highs, and then it's like back down again. I mean, that's certainly possible too, right? So there's just a lot of ways. And at the end of the day, it's going to be just sentiment, price action based, not necessarily a specific number that I'm looking for. People throw out numbers out there, and at the end of the day, it's anyone's guess. There's some good reasoning behind numbers. You can say, oh, if Bitcoin becomes an X gold and you divide the market cap of gold by how many Bitcoins there are, oh, it's going to be $1 million Bitcoin. or $100,000 Bitcoin, or, some factor of that, or, network market value. So it's just, it's guesswork, right? I'd be happy to throw out a number. It's all guesswork. 50K, that's it. 50K Bitcoin. I don't know. All right, let's go look at some of these alts here. So what's on the list here, my friends? What do you guys want to look at here today? $9,920. Litecoin BTC pair. Let's go look at that one. That's a good one here. So LTC BTC. So looking at Litecoin BTC here, still coming in. Had that nice move. I'm starting to wonder, like, is this going to turn into a double top? I hope not. A lower high, right? We had that spike back here in April. They had a pretty nice rally here going into this last month. And wonder if that's it, right? Was that the halvening being priced in and now it's done? A lot of times they front run into events, and people always expect that the top's going to come like a week before the event. Not always. You've seen it recently with a lot of mainnet go lives, right? Like Zill and some of these others, where they'll peak out well before the actual events. And so it's not always the case that it runs right up to the event. With fork events, stuff like that, generally it's like runs right up to the event, but not always. So looking at LTC, BTC here, it's fully retraced back to a key level that I've been watching here. And I don't like the fact that it finally broke below that, that 1400 on the BTC pair. I really wanted it to hold above that and then start to bounce. So it's really started to have a pullback. Now, in all fairness, I do have a position in Litecoin right now, and mostly because I'm liking it from the USD side of things. I'm thinking this one finally starts to break out. But absolutely, it's been lagging Bitcoin like just about everything else. And so, it's got a key juncture here in terms of the BTC pair. ETH was showing something similar here last week and broke below support this week, finally bouncing back a little bit, but, did break. So will LTC do the same thing? All things being equal, if I didn't know what the USD dollar, the USD pair looked like, this looks negative to me, and I wouldn't necessarily buy the dip per se. I'd probably wait for a little bit of a confirmation on the upside, a reversal, maybe getting back above a moving average or something. But I already have a position in. I came in from the USD side on Litecoin, and so I'm going to just kind of write it out, let it do its thing. Let's see where it goes from here. But it's been a nice run. Basically, last 2 weeks had a solid run, and then, or 3 weeks ago, and now it's just kind of really been fading that move here lately. Alex says, I've learned so much from you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I hope you guys have. I mean, and I always say this, right? Like, my way is not the best way. My way is not the only way. And at the end of the day, I started this channel with the desire to teach, to help people learn a little bit about technical analysis, a little bit about crypto, all of that. And that's really been my focus. I mean, at the end of the day, it's charts. If technical analysis and charts aren't your thing, you probably won't like my channel a whole lot. But that's really been it. Haven't done a whole lot of project reviews or anything like that. It's mostly just trading, right? Talking trading, talking charts. All right, so let's see here. What else? Let's look at, let's do a little bit of deep dive on some of these names here from the BTC pair. Because, the question is, if Bitcoin decides to take a pause here, decides to rally a little bit, I'm wondering if, we're going to see a little bit of rotation out of BTC into some of these alt names. Are we going to see ETH pop some more? Are we going to see EOS? I mean, there's some of these names that are just really oversold versus Bitcoin. And the question is, are we going to see the rotation happen? Or if Bitcoin decides to finally see a little bit of a pullback, do the alts get hammered like they always do, along with BTC, right? So that's going to really be the question. Some of the alts that I like from the big cap names, right? Because that's, the small cap names are just so unpredictable. You get these out of nowhere moves from the bottom of despair, right? They're in the dumps. They're going straight down, and out of nowhere you get like a 20% pop. But they're just such low volume liquid names, really unpredictable. But if you look at some of the bigger cap names, there's better order flow. There's better liquidity. Litecoin's one I'm liking here. And as I mentioned at the start of the stream, if you just caught it, I did start rotating into some Litecoin yesterday. I liked the volume that was coming in here off the lows. Waited for the second green candle, started to move some into that coming from BTC. You look at names like EOS, right? EOS is, maybe forming a little bit of a double bottom here on this daily chart, right at support. Will it hold? Who knows? I'm not going to front run it, but I'm going to keep an eye on it and see if, hey, does EOS start to catch a bid? Do you see some rotation out of BTC back into names like EOS? And EOS has that history of being one of those names that just has one of those big green days out of nowhere, starts to kick off a little bit of a rally. So I'll be looking out for that this week, and maybe some positive rotation into EOS, but it's at a key support level. We go back here to this prior base. This is where these two recent lows are starting to land. So EOS, it would be good if it held in and around this zone here. It started to show a little buying pressure. If you look at EOS dollar real quick, EOS dollar. It's too early for me, guys. I'm kidding. It's not too early. My day actually starts pretty early these days because I usually try to get up before the stock market opens, which for me is at 6:30 a.m. So it means I got to get up at least an hour before that. So I'm not groggy, and I'm prepared to do what I need to do. But EOS dollar, holding up pretty good here on the dollar pair. It had that very steep pullback. Again, there was some front running into some announcements and news and all that good stuff. Finally, sold off after that. But it found some support here in and around that $6 mark. And so far has been trending higher a little bit, now holding above the moving average pairs that I watch. So, 650 to 675 has become a little bit of a support zone for EOS. And so if it can break that downtrend on the BTC pair, we could finally see a little resumption of the trend here. Big picture EOS, look at this. I mean, big picture EOS, not that one. Let me go something with a little bit more history on Bitfinex. There we go. I mean, big picture EOS, right? Just the weekly chart is trending higher. It just has these rallies, pulls back to the 10 EMA on the weekly, big spike, pulls right back to the 10 EMA on the weekly to do it again, right? So big picture from the dollar pair looks good. BTC pair, of course, like everything else right now, looks pretty ugly. So we'll see where, what happens here in the big picture. Weekly charts, it's vulnerable here. ETH BTC, let me go back to that one for the weekly chart. Eesh. LTC, we looked at that. XRP, come on, XRP, guys. It's just been ugly for a long time. Look at this weekly chart. You had 2 green weeks out of, what, 20? How many weeks is that? 15 weeks. 2 out of 15 green. Just brutal. It's a rough chart. It's funny because we had a knife catching thread in the Slack group yesterday that I posted, and I said, not that I'm advocating for knife catching here, but some of these alts are just getting smacked hard. Like, which ones would you guys run into, right? Would you do a Walton? Would you do an Icon? Cardano is one that I'm watching here as a potential reversal. I'm not going to knife catch, just so you know, but I'm looking at some of these like, wow, they're really tanking here. I did a little bit of reversal trading, knife catching back here, which worked out pretty nicely, but that was coming after a pretty long pullback. We saw bounce. Doesn't mean just because we're at the lows that we saw here in May doesn't mean that's the low, because it could certainly just as easily make a new low, right? So it's really hard to say where that low is. But some of these names are just starting to hit these long-term oversold levels. If you look at the daily chart here, RSI is approaching the 30 mark. Let's go back to EOS really quick. RSI on EOS, not quite in the 30 yet. Icon, in the teens or the 20s, low 20s here from the BTC pair. And then you go to the small cap land, and some of those names are just getting destroyed, man. Look at that. It's just getting killed there. NEM, even though it's not considered a small cap, it really is, trades low volume. But just so many names, it's just really tough. But let's see here. BTC will pop over 10K any minute. Let's go look. BTC USD on Coinbase, $9,944. And it's incoming. Let's zoom in a little bit. I'm going to dial it in here to the 5-minute view real quick. It finally cleared that high from yesterday, so it's going to probably start to get going now. We had that nice wick. Look at that. It popped right up to 99.30, and then boom, this morning just starting to rally. So 10K, it's going to be interesting to see if it just blasts right through 10K and just keeps going. WAN chain. Let's go look at the WAN chain here. I'll keep coming back to this chart here as it approaches. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to open up another window here where you guys can see so I can keep an eye on it and be sure to pop over to it if it starts to get a little bit closer. There we go. All right. So looking at WAN chain, man, WAN chain. Let's go to the daily chart here because these are getting smacked. But look at WAN chain. Wow. Just, this is just the story of so many alts right now, right? It had that massive spike, just really dropped off and just has been the slow grind down, making new lows. And right now it's at all-time lows and it's making new lows. It's just really breaking some support. Just like not a whole lot to, not a whole lot to do until some of these really start to show life again. Verge, there's a name from yesteryear. Everyone's favorite privacy coin. Let's see, Verge. It makes you wonder, like the bubble prices that we saw in 2017, right? I mean, most of these names, honestly, guys, let's be real. Most of these names will never see these price levels again, right? Some of them will, but most of them won't. I mean, it was a unique environment here at the end of 2017. The ICOs, the euphoria. I mean, coins would rally on news of an announcement, right? It's an announcement of an announcement. Oh, they're going to make an announcement. Rally. They're going to have a partnership with Pornhub. Rally. And, and here we are just kind of driving lower and lower. And I think it's come to the point now where some of the hype on what these projects were planning to do and deliver is gone now. And it's like, now you got to show some substance for things to really get moving, like deliver something, right? Make some bigger moves, gain some what do you call it? More market share, some real world use, right? But a lot of these names just really drying up, dying on the vine here. Monero is a privacy coin that I do like, by the way. But even then, look at Monero, right? Monero is just at least on Binance, right? Just the history here is pretty rough. Monero dollar, not so bad, but a lot of that is because of Bitcoin. But XMR, looking long-term charts just look really rough on most of these guys. I do like it here, trying to form bottom here. Again, probably more short-term, right? From a short-term swing perspective here, we'll see where it goes. Zcash had a big move this week or last week. Was it this week? Last week? In the last week. Finally pulling back here. It's down 3 days in a row. But again, look, it's only down to the 10 EMA. So it's just kind of a normal pullback at this point. But the question is always like, was that the move? Is it done? Or is this a pullback entry in a broader potential uptrend, right? And if you're doing this trend following strategy, these are the entry points that you start to pay attention to because you think maybe they start to pop off there and gets the move going again. And, those make much better entry points than, chasing the big green candles there. Barrick Gold. Hey, we'll look at the gold chart here because gold had a fantastic week, breaking out of some long time resistance, multi-months, right? Years in the making. So it's going to be interesting to see where gold goes here in the second half of the year. Gold does have a little bit of seasonality to it. Generally, the August through March timeframe tends to be a stronger period for gold. So we'll see if that really gets things going. Maybe $1,500 gold's next. But quite the move that we saw in gold this week here. All right, let's keep going through some of these here. Seller. The newer name here. Let's go take a look at that guy. I've traded this one off and on. I mean, I'm not like a long-term believer in this one here or anything, but I've bought in and out of some of these moves here. It's had these nice little spikes off the lows, and see where it gets going here. Seller is today here breaking a little bit of support versus BTC. I'll go look at it from the dollar pair, but right now there's a little bit of a level here. You can see it was support back here at the start of June, had a good rally, pulled right back to that level, held for about a week, and today finally losing the bid there. If we look at seller, dollar pair could be setting up for a potential breakout move. You can see this last rally basically paused right at the closing bases, right? And that's why I like to use the close more than I do the wicks, because the wicks, I do factor them in. Certainly worth watching as a secondary target, but generally if it can't hold above the close like it couldn't back here, that's usually pretty solid resistance on the candle, at least on a daily basis, right? So important levels to watch is usually the daily close and the daily open, or the high of the day and the low of the day, those type of things. But these are the levels I was watching here, pulled back. But in the big picture on this daily chart, you can certainly argue for, hey, this is a little bit of an ascending base starting to form. If it continues to hold the broader trend, let's say it finds some support here and starts to rally off this low, then that's good, right? And generally, it's nothing wrong with buying into support because you got a really tight stop, but you could also trade it as a breakout trade once it finally clears that resistance, could get going again. Margin trading. So you guys are going to all sign up for margin trading on Binance when that gets going? Yes, I do trade on Binance, among other places. And yes, I will be cut off in September. I'm going to be spending more time on KuCoin, along with, excuse me, I'm chewing on some ice, along with some other exchanges that I already use anyway. But, and that's the thing with Binance, right? Like, yeah, they're going to have Binance US, blah, blah, blah. I'm just not that excited about it. We'll see where it goes. I'm not that excited, right? Binance, the reason Binance was good because, one, they offered a lot of coins you shouldn't get anywhere else. Two, the liquidity there was better than some of the other exchanges, right? And that's very important, especially if you're trading. The interface is not exactly the best tool in the world. No big deal. They were doing a lot of things right? Think about it. Binance is not even 2 years old. I mean, they're very young. They've done a lot of stuff. They've dominated. Good security practices, all that good stuff. Yes, I know they got hacked, but so did everybody else, basically. But now it's kind of like, okay, what's going to be with the U.S. exchange, right? I have no doubt they will limit certain coins. They're going to be, you can trade, but you can't trade this coin, or you can't trade that coin because of regulation. We're not sure if it's a security, so we just won't let U.S. people trade it, right? You might be able to still trade it on Binance. You won't be able to trade it on Binance US. And that's just going to be the way it is. And it's just because of the uncertainty around regulation here, and they're just playing the safe path. Binance has become big enough now where they're a target, and they don't want to mess up a good thing. And so they're going to do the path that Bitfinex went and, bar U.S. traders. Poloniex, for example, doesn't let U.S. traders trade certain securities or tokens anymore. And, don't get me going on that. Yeah, you can use VPN. There's risks with that, and if you're verified, that's not going to help you. So, there's ways around it. But I mean, if you got a small amount on there, okay, whatever. Probably not that big of a deal if you get cut off. But the question is, like, is it really worth the risk? So, but yeah, that's the thing with Binance here, is just like, I'm not so sure. But the thing is, it's not so much Binance that irks me as much as it is like, this is all because of the regulatory environment here in the United States, which, let's be honest, it's totally hypocritical and totally ridiculous in so many ways, right? Like, you look at, one, the notion of accredited investor is just such BS. Like, okay, you're not allowed to invest in certain things. You're not allowed to trade certain things unless you have a net worth of $1 million, or you make, over $250,000 a year, because that proves that you're just such a smart person and so much better off with money than anybody else, right? Like, you can't invest in the next Uber. You can't invest in the next Lyft. You can't invest in the next anything, but you can buy lottery tickets all day long. Feel free to buy all the weed you want. Feel free to, go to Vegas and gamble your life savings away infinitum, and certainly, buy some hookers while you're at it, but do not trade altcoins that are not approved. And it's just like, come on, guys. It's just so hilarious, so hypocritical. And I laugh every time you see the SEC come out and say, we are doing this to protect the investor and the consumer. And it's like, okay, sure you are. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of scams out there, but crypto is no exception. There's scams in every industry. There's scams in the freaking stock market. You can buy pink sheets and penny stocks that are all scams, but you can't buy crypto. It's like, oh boy. So anyway, It's a silly rule, and the reality is the rule is intended to really make it hard for kind of the average person to get in early on these good deals, because you get a kind of, it's a pay to play type of scenario where, if you've got the money, you can buy in, then you get in, you get access, right? And it's like, you look at Uber, for example. Uber finally went public, Lyft went public, Slack went public this week, by the way. Some of these companies have gone public this week. Now the average person is allowed to buy them and invest in them, but at this point, they're hugely inflated. They're not even profitable in many cases. But you were not allowed to invest in them at the seed round when they were very, the upside was enormous. But you're only allowed to invest in them now. So it's just one of those things. All right, so let's go to BTC here, 9,922. Just kind of sitting tight here, chopping around a little bit. Let's go to BCH here. BCH. I've really just been watching the BCH BTC pair. I was watching it a couple weeks back. It wasn't able to break out and just has not been able to do a whole lot since then. And at this point now, it's starting to really roll over and fail below some support here. It is oversold here in the near term. The daily chart is very oversold, but is it going to get going again? It's just really, this was a kind of a short-lived pump and has just really been rolling over since that double top that we saw here. And it was very range bound, was certainly setting out for a potential breakout. So it was on the radar, but now it's just really kind of just dying off there. Oversold, so could bounce here a little bit, but let's go to the dollar pair. BCH USD, again, could be setting out for a breakout here. That would correspond with an oversold bounce on the BTC pair. If I was trading it from the dollar side, it's ascending base now, so you almost want to get in a little bit earlier as opposed to waiting for the breakouts, just because chasing the breakouts are a little higher risk right here. So maybe getting in now that it's kind of confirming here on this candle, higher volume here, and then moving the stop up after it breaks out, if it breaks out. There's one option there. Of course, the alternative is take a longer swing at it, wait for the breakout, and then at that point you're looking for a little bit of a measured move target. So maybe what's the target on this? Sorry. Moving my arrows around. Come on. Hold on. My mouse is. Yeah. Anyway, probably about 520-ish. Okay, let's see here. Looking at the comments here, just trying to catch up a little bit. ETH going to 400. I think so. It's approaching that level. ETH USD, we were looking at Ethereum here at the start. Solid breakout here. Started to rotate out of some BTC into some ETH yesterday. Closing above that 280, 278 level was really the level to be watching, and it's doing it now. So that looks good. First target on the upside is 320, around there. And then I'm looking for kind of this window up here. It's a wide range, no doubt, but it's 350s to maybe 400. So basically the upper half, the 300 range. Be paying attention to it there, see how it does. Let's see what else we got here. You think Facebook Libra was the best thing that happens to crypto since, I don't know. I mean, I can see your arguments, right? Because it just bolsters Bitcoin in the sense that, you can't shut it down per se. I don't know. I mean, I think what Libra is really, it's not so much the best thing to happen to crypto as much as it is Facebook jumping on the crypto bandwagon and trying to use the term crypto and digital token as a way to kind of, sneak in behind the door there, if you will, and create a, something that's going to ultimately benefit Facebook and the association there. Everyone is bullish, not too good. And that's usually the case. Everyone is bullish. There goes ETH, pop in. Come on, ETH 300. Looking good. keeping an eye on it. Facebook actually was trading Facebook this week quite a bit, to be honest with you. I think I traded Facebook almost every day this week except for yesterday. And so far, it's been the most profitable trade that I have had all week. It's been my biggest trades. I went long Facebook on Monday. I was short on Tuesday. I caught a quick short on Wednesday pre-Fed. Didn't trade it yesterday. And watching it here today as it kind of pops. So it's been a tradable name. All right, let's go to some of these other names here. Yes, Facebook is evil. XLM. Let's go look at the lumens. XLM, and then I'm going to take a quick break and look at the Facebook, or the Facebook, the gold chart. I said Facebook because I have another window open on my other screen. I've got a little trade going on it right now. Stellar. Let's go take a look at Stellar here. Stellar 5-minute or daily view, excuse me. Into the daily view, man, coming right into the lows right now. I mean, almost to the penny at this point, right at the low. And Stellar has really taken it, in the chin here. Just had that bounce here, very short-lived, right into some moving averages on the weekly chart and just really rolling over. Man, on the Binance exchange, right, all-time lows are down here at the 768 Satoshi level. Does it go that low? Who knows? But there's no sign of strength in this name at any point. It is oversold, but other than some short-term bounces, hasn't been able to show much life, man. Wow. Even the Coinbase pump wasn't even that big when they finally announced Stellar. But then again, Coinbase pumps haven't really been a whole lot these days. Stellar. Maybe that's a good knife catcher right there. Let's go look at Neo. Yeah, I'll do Link next. So looking at Neo, let's see, BTC sitting at 99.16. I'm just going to keep an eye on it here, see where it goes. Neo, I was watching Neo BTC here. I'll look at the dollar pair, but I was watching Neo BTC here earlier this week for a potential breakout over this level. Never happened, of course. Kind of just rolling over here the last few days. If we go to Neo dollar, however, like many of these alts, the dollar pairs are looking pretty good. I'll admit they're looking positive. This one has a little bit of a kind of cup and handle type of pattern to it. Let me clear all my junk here for you guys. Start fresh on this chart. And so Neo dollar here, if you look at the pair, right, I mean, it certainly has been a tough trade, right? I mean, you got these big spikes for a couple of days and then just huge reversals for a few days, followed by some spikes. So from a trading perspective, this has been a tough one. But here in recent days, right, you can argue for a little bit of a rally type handle being put in here. There's a clear resistance zone, 1450. Closing above that would be positive here on this daily chart. And then at that point, you can kind of zoom out here and look at the next target. You're looking at, $16 to $17 is the next target if it gets going. So that'd be a pretty decent little trade there. But it's been a tough one, not very clean. From the BTC pair, of course, kind of losing some support there. Big picture, though, still kind of just trending in the broader scheme of things here. So we'll see if they can get going. Kind of like EOS, right? EOS just broader picture trending higher. All right, Jack in the house. Let me see what else we got here. Bitcoin, will it hit 10K during the stream? Who knows? We'll see if it does. I mean, at this point, for all intents and purposes, let's be honest, right? It hit 10K, right? It's like 9,900 on Coinbase. 9,950 was really the spike here that we saw. So we'll see where it goes. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going to cycle through some of these here. Link, yeah, let's do Link here real quick. Let me go real quick. ETH USD. Yeah, ETH is about to break that 300 window. Cool. Maybe it does. All right, let's do Cardano, Link, and then we'll do Cardano. Link was one I was watching this week. I didn't take it just for a number of reasons, just mostly because of BTC. I didn't take it, but I was watching this pull back. After that big spike, right, that was kind of on the news, the Google news or whatever we want to call it. Not really news, but, you know, kind of got a shout out there. And it rallied, had a little bit of a bounce rally. And, you know, it's hindsight now, of course, but, you know, it hit the 618 retracements, I mean, almost perfectly before topping out. And that was really the end of the move, right? It had a little rally there, pulled back, rally, couldn't quite get going again. Big red after that, and just kind of sat tight. And so I didn't do anything with it this week. And now it's kind of just rolling over, undercutting this support back here that it set on the first dip back in there. And so you see here today, prices are really starting to break below. How low does it go from here? I mean, that's probably the end of the bounce, right? You generally don't like to see it kind of do one of these moves. What you want to see is, you know, rally, find some support, get going, make a higher low, and then take out the prior high. Couldn't do that, failed at the 618. So for now, kind of off my radar. Big picture, though, long term, I actually like Link. I think it's a great project. The Oracle connecting the multiple blockchains and all that. I mean, that's going to be huge for the industry if they can really start to pull that off and get going. So, you know, I like that from that perspective. I think it's a good project that I like long term. You know, from a near term trading perspective, it's pulling right back to the 22 EMA on the daily. This would be an ideal place for it to hold, but I'd be watching and waiting for some upside reversal first. Cardano. Looking at Cardano here. Again, just similar to the EOS BTC chart, breaking below, clearing below some of those. Man, this one's just not a pretty chart here. Not a pretty chart. This was had one of the steeper drops in big cap names since that peak in April. It had a strong rally. It was such a good name in Q1. It was one of my better trades in the first quarter. And just look at this. Since April, really big drop, down 53% here in the last couple of months. So waiting for some reversal action. I think a lot of these will catch a bid once Bitcoin decides to take a little bit of a breather. ETH is starting to catch a little bit of a bid here near term. You're seeing it pop off the lows here. So good action. We'll see if some of these other names over the weekend start to show similar price action. But, you know, the big picture view, the daily charts on a lot of these are just still not pretty, man. Just looking pretty weak all around. If we look at XRP, if we look at, we did XLM, we did EOS, we did NEO, Ontology, you know, just real similar stuff. Very oversold near term, looking for a bounce, but big picture view, just Bitcoin still the place to be on all of these guys. Wave, oh man, waves. Waves got smacked hard. You know, and you look at some of these recent names, right? Cosmos, even that one kind of rolling over here. Harmony, you know, kind of just rolling over. Had that initial spike, just really dropping. Matic, you know, holding up a little bit better, but you know, even then, some of these guys, which were the kind of the stronger ones, still kind of rolling over here. Let's see, XTZ, Tezos. Wasn't that one just getting hit pretty hard here? XTZ, let's go Tezos. The Tezos BTC pair, look at that, double topped, just couldn't get going, and it was really confirmed once it broke below this support. You could almost argue, you know, that set up a little bit of a head and shoulder type pattern, not clear, but you just see double top, and then another little double top, and just really broke support. Back down to the lows here. So Tezos, OMG. OMG. Sheesh, look at this. Is it ever coming back? OMG. All right. Well, Bitcoin popping a little bit here, 99.30. We'll see if it goes. Kicking off the weekend with some chart reviews, looking at the charts, seeing if we finally see a 10K print before the weekend. Man, if we see 10K, guys, no, I'm not going to give you financial advice. Never mind. Never mind. Oh man. 0x. Oh, that's a name I haven't seen in a while. Let's go look at 0x. That's 0x protocol here. Another project I like too that just, from the price perspective, not showing a lot of oomph, and just, it's just spikes lower, spikes lower, spikes lower here. And that was a good question that I saw on Twitter. Somebody messaged me, kind of asking about some of these payment coins, right? Things like OMG and Neblio and even Stellar, and I even wonder about Dash, right? A lot of these were trying to become that payment crypto, trying to fill the gap in terms of speed and scalability. Initially in terms of privacy and what for broader use, and some of these still but they got a lot of development work to do still. And now with Libra coming out, I think it's going to be a lot harder for the average user to jump on one of these systems unless they just make it super easy and clean, and kind of all the magic happens behind the scenes, right? Things like Libra are going to be fully integrated into platforms and apps and sites that people are using day to day. And Facebook just has the partnership power and the marketability and all that, that a lot of these projects just don't. Not that I like Facebook going down this path, and let's be honest, it's not a true crypto, but it's going to be a uphill battle for a lot of these names, right? Just makes you wonder if they're done, or if they're going to really, if there's going to be a separate market for some of that. And I agree with you, right? A lot of these are better than Libra. Most of these are better than Libra, right? I totally agree with you. But Facebook's got an army of developers and very smart people there too. So they are certainly going to be a contender. Can't write them off. And that's kind of always been not my argument, but I've always said that, right? It's like, people are always excited when they see IBM partners with Stellar, and they're putting quantum block smart contract ability on Google Cloud or AWS and all that stuff. And I've always kind of made the argument that these companies are just so big and have so many smart people working for them and are just so well funded and capitalized in so many ways that why would they piggyback on an existing blockchain, when they can just kind of make their own or fork a blockchain and add their own improvements to it and go from there, right? And you're going to see that, I think you're going to see them kind of just roll out their own versions of stuff, and they're going to learn, unfortunately, right? They're kind of copy and learn a lot from the back of what has been developed over the last decade and in recent years privately through a lot of these projects, right? And there's been a new ecosystem, but a lot of these, here's IOTA, just kind of really, really rolling over. So there'll be partnerships, but I think a lot of it's going to be more learning at the end of the day. Why wouldn't they just do their own thing? All right, BTC 99.30. Let's see where it goes. I'm looking at the comments here. Sorry for the silence. Radio silence. Let me take a swig of my juice here. It's only noon now. It's a little too close. Just buy Bitcoin. Like the Bitcoin sign guy says, buy Bitcoin. TRX. We have not looked at that one. Good name from yesteryear. Just kidding, not yesteryear, but let me clear this. Tron was another one that I did take a shot at this week and just got out of the way, but I was liking it more from the USD side on the setup. Looked like it was trying to break out, and it never really did. On the BTC pair, kind of rolling over. It was setting up for a little bit of a pullback entry. If you look at TRX USD Tether, I guess, it's still setting up. So I'm still watching it. It looked like it was going to get going back here. I was liking it right here. And I thought, okay, here we go. Volume was there, but it turned out to be a failed breakout. Never held above that for very long and just kind of no follow through, rolled over. But it did make a higher low and so far is holding up. So, this is really starting to narrow. There's a pretty good support resistance level being set now. So on the downside, right, you can see there's a clear support level. On the upside, if it starts to get out of this range, it'll start to break out. And that'll be positive. So a little bit of a wedge potentially forming here. What I'm looking at on this pair too is the fact that, the big picture view, the daily chart, finally broke above this resistance and pulled back, came right back to it, held, and it's starting to bounce a little bit. So could be a little throwback entry there. We'll see. But at this point, I'm just going to wait till it can finally get back above this little level here. So looking at BTC here real quick, kind of zooming in, going back to where we started here. BTC, still edging higher. 4-hour view, just trending nicely above these moving averages. RSI, it's up there, 76. MACD, there are potentially divergences showing up here in the RSI histogram, MACD histogram here. So something I'm watching, not a sell signal in and of itself, but something I'm going to make note of here if we start to see some big selling volume coming in. The last candle did see some selling volume, and I was getting cautious thinking that could be the reversal. I mean, there was a big spike, reversal volume here, things pulled back, still edging higher, but I was, you're starting to see some profit taking showing up. So I wonder, just how much more this can go before you do finally get that pause, that inevitable pause. So we'll see where it goes. But for now, it's still going. The daily chart has room to run here if it wants to. Next target, of course, 10K psychological number. Above that, next major resistance level is, close to 11.5, right? It's in the 11.4s. So that's going to be interesting to see if we get anywhere near that. But nothing goes straight up. Nothing goes straight down. All right, let's see here. ETH breaking out. Yeah, ETH is breaking out. It broke out already. I mean, the level that I was watching on ETH was that 278, 280 level, still going. Nice. Want to see that clear 300. See if we can get going. And I'm waiting on Litecoin to break out here. Looking at Litecoin. Sitting tight here. Really wedging. I think this is decision weekend for LTC. So if we dial it in here, look a little bit closer, two levels that I'm watching here, it needs to get above that 140 on a closing basis and hold on that 4-hour view at least. And then on the downside, if it starts to lose 133, 132, not going to look quite as good there. So something I'm watching there. All right, let's see here. Bitcoin pulling back 98.95. All right, we'll do a couple more, guys, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Call it a weekend. Wish you well. BAT. Yeah, let's take a look at BAT. I haven't looked at that one in a while. BAT. This is BAT dollar or BAT tether. Kind of just range bound here, to be honest. I mean, just not a whole lot here in the last, what is that? It's basically since mid-April. You could argue for a little bit of a descending triangle here, right? With the lower highs starting to get set here, and it's just really holding support so far, but it's kind of an interesting juncture here. So maybe decision time for this guy. Look at it from the BTC pair. BAT BTC just really starting to roll over again. Oversold. A little bit of a bullish divergence, if you want to call it that, right? You got the RSI not quite as high. MACD not bullish. So, man, knife catching. Let's do some knife catching. All right. Okay, my friends. This is how you guys party? This 10K party, we haven't hit 10K yet. No fireworks yet, no popping. And it's too early, man. I think I started the stream at like 10, 11 a.m. I said, all right, it's early for a drink, guys. You guys are going to have one without me. 10K party. So let's do the questionnaire on the stream here. Your best guess. What do you think Bitcoin is price-wise, USD price, by December 31st? What's your number? My number here, December 31st. I personally don't think we hit all-time highs this year, but I do think it'll be over 10K. So I'll go with, let me see here. I'll go with 2K. I'm kidding. Let's see here. BTC. I'm gonna say 14.5. Let's do this real quick. Let me do this. Let me clear this. Let's do I haven't done this here. Big retracement bounce. Oh man, look at that. Bouncing right to the 382 on the fib. 13.5. Okay, that's my number. 13.5. That's interesting. It bounced right to the 382 level. So if you look at the top that was set here, sub 20K, but basically 20K, and you do a retracement down to the low, basically 3,100, and you can see the 382 level lines up to 95.77. 50% retracement puts you at 11.5, which is really the next big resistance zone back in here. And so you see there's 50%. And then 618 puts you here at the high set in January here on the 15th, that week, that red week there. So interesting. $17, $15, $12, $3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. Oh. Cambridge Associates announcement itself will take us to 32,000. Maybe. 1 million by tomorrow. All right. $100K by December 31st. Oh, no. Maybe eventually, but this year, 6 months from now? 30K? Time Traveler says. Hey, man, I hope you're right. Million. All right. So Bitcoin sub 9,900. 98.75 here. Okay. Well, my friends, we'll see where that goes. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. 10K. We'll see if we actually see that 10K print here today. It's close. It's a good chance we might. But like I said, it's basically there, right? For all intents and purposes, it's 10K, 9,950. All right. Well, I wish you all the best. Thanks for being here as always. Thanks for the likes. If you, as I always say, if you want to join our Slack group, if you want to learn more about this stuff, check it out, nodeinvestor.com or the nodeinsiders.com alert site, which also includes watch lists, chat group stuff, and my video courses. So wish you all the best. See where Bitcoin goes. Maybe I'll hop on again later this weekend. So next time, take care, everyone.